Ayan, mag-earn na tayo. Let's go. Let's go for gold. Ayan na, yun na. Kumusta naman kayo dyan, mga kameta? Pasensya na kahapon if I was not able to join you guys. Ayan, mga driver duties. Alam niyo naman tayo mga proud Ilocanos ay as much as possible will take care of our... Ayan, hindi talagang wala tayong driver, wala tayong mga ganun. Alam mo na, hindi tayo katulad ng mga iba na haciendero culture. So, full day job tayo kahapon, press conference. Of course, you had a sinilip niyo sa West Philippine Sea. Had to do some tapings on the issue ng education crisis sa Pilipinas bilang ticking time bomb. And then na-catch up tayo with some of our good friends in the corporate world who were kind enough to share with me some of the data they had, for instance, na relevant dito sa understanding medyo consumer sentiment, pero in a way you could also say na may electoral sentiment also dynamics. I saw some alignment with some of the surveys. I've looked at these three different surveys or four different surveys I've looked at, but there was also some digression. So thank you so much sa mga kaibigan din natin dyan sa the world of analytics and consumer sentiment world who shared relevant data for us para lalong mapa ano 'di ba, ma-enhance natin yung ating analysis and understanding guys ng ating mga electorate. Thank you so much sa lahat ng mga well-wishers natin from all around the country. Of course, I'm joining you live from dito sa hometown natin. Hindi po Southern European, ano lang, Benguet province. Very proud of course of where I come from. And as what's his name? Our good friend, ang pinaka-idol natin, as Isabel de los Reyes said, the more I'm proud of being Ilocano, the more I'm proud and fully proud and fully feel as a Filipino, right? So yun po yung parati natin gustong sense of belonging natin and rootedness natin, 'di ba? Dapat nakadikit yung rootedness natin sa hometown natin, dun sa home provinces natin, pero dapat ultimately ito ay naka-anchor sa ating nationalism. Kaya thank you so much also sa ating mga kapatid from all across the country. Daghang salamat of course sa mga kaibigan natin, followers natin, mga well-wishers natin from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Mga kaibigan natin from Mindanao who have been sending PMs and well wishes and saying na talagang they're happy with what we're doing. They're happy with the fact that we're pointing out facts, data, and standing in solidarity with us against dun sa mga persona trapos. Mga persona trapo na mukhang wala silang magawang mabuti sa buhay, mukhang nasa sobrang bored na sila kahit sobrang laos na isang fake news issue, babalikan pa nila with some whatever non-binding charot whatever. As if naman, pathetic, right? So sana naman yung mga persona trapos dyan, focus on doing your job because obviously you're not doing a very good job, right? Because I'm sure your people deserve way better than the katrapuhan that you're giving them. And I know that because maraming tao nagsusumbong sa atin, nagpi-PM sa atin about problems here, problems there. We see the data, we see the dynamics, and of course, you know, as I always said, we always have to be proud of our roots, whether Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, whether Ilocano speaking, Visayas speaking, Tagalog speaking, Bicolano speaking, Kapampangan speaking, Pangasinense speaking, diba? Cordilleran, of course, we have to be always proud of our roots. But at the end of the day, dapat talaga naka-anchor ito dun sa ating sense of being Filipinos. Being yung sense natin ng nationalismo and patriotismo. And as I always say, we should not allow politicians, yung mga persona trapos, yung mga offspring of vipers, as the Bible put it, right? Yung mga hypocrites there, mga trapos there, mga opportunists there, guys, na sinasakyan ang mga darkest instincts natin, yung mga nag-groom ng all sorts of different atavistic, instincts, etc. just to push for political agenda. So maraming salamat, daghang salamat sa ating mga followers at kaibigan, mga well-wishers natin from all across the country who keep on saying, Sir, wag mong pansinin yung mga trapos na yan, wag mong pansinin yung mga trolls na yan. They will also have their day. They will also have their day. At parati ko sinasabi sa ating mga kapatid, ako, I'm a proud Ilocano, proud Baguio boy, but you know what? I never allowed that to cloud my judgment when it comes to the legacy of the Marcos dictatorship. Kaya consistent tayo throughout the years. Bata pa lang ako. Once I got to know about the facts of the dark days of dictatorship, once I got to know about the facts of na hindi golden era yung nangyari, etc. I've been consistently very critical of the Marcos dictatorship legacy. So yun ang parating yung sinasabi na let's not allow politicians, trapos, persona trapos, yung mga walang magawa mas mabuti sa buhay kundi mag-charot-charot lang. Let's not allow them to manipulate, right, our sense of rootedness for their political agenda. Kaya sabi ko, I'm a proud Ilocano. At the same time, I also proudly look at the facts when it comes to the dark legacy of the Marcos dictatorship. Right? Parati tayong consistent about yan. So I also wish talagang yung mga ibang kaibigan natin, mga kameta natin, followers natin, mga kababayan natin from different parts of the country and beyond, huwag niyong hayaan na i-manipulate yung mga politicians, yung mga legitimate grievances natin for their own personal gains, right? For their own personal gains. Kaya sabi ko, I'm very proud Ilocano and proud Filipino, and I'm proud that yung pagka-Ilocano natin, we did not allow that to cloud our judgment about the dark legacy of the Marcos dictatorship or anything like that. Kaya batang-bata pa lang ako, ang dami ko na debate dito sa Baguio. Obviously, pag umuwi ako sa Ilocos region, medyo marami dyan ng mga kaibigan natin, kapsat natin na very, of course, very nandyan sa loyalista camp. Wala akong I know that facts are on our side. So, yun din ang advice natin sa mga kaibigan natin in different parts of the country. Huwag niyong hayaan yung mga politiko, trolls, persona trapos, right? To manipulate, to weaponize yung mga legitimate sense of rootedness natin. And also maybe some legitimate grievances even we may have across against uh, all of us in one way or another. We feel neglected by so-called Imperial Manila, right? Wag natin makalimutan. Wag natin kalimutan. Actually, nowadays, if you go to the northern Luzon area among others, yeah, medyo well developed. But one reason Ferdinand Marcos Sr. was able to build such a huge loyalty dito sa northern parts of the country was because he brought a lot of infrastructure development. Our electrification rate went from somewhere around 20-25% to around 70-75%. So yun, ginamit yung grievances against so-called elite, no, liberal elite in Manila, etc. To create a kind of a loyalist base. And kaya, I exactly know what's going on in other parts of the country nowadays because we have seen this script before. So kaya sabi ko, we have to be independent-minded. We have to resist efforts by politicians to weaponize tribalism or even legitimate grievances for their own political agenda. Kaya tuwang-tuwa pa tayo sa mga kaibigan natin from across the country who keep on reminding us na wag tayo bibitaw, right? Wag tayo kapit lang. And sometimes things get very emotional. Sometimes nagiging issue ito ng pride. Sometimes talagang madali tayong madala unfortunately sa misinformation, etc. But at the end of the day, guys, patriotism should come first, right? Whether you're proud Mindanaoan, proud Ilocano, proud, I don't know, Kapampangan, do not forget that at the end of the day, we're part of the same nation state, right? And Rizal is my hero as much as he's your hero. Bonifacio is as much your hero as my hero. And Gabriela Silang, Padre Burgos may come from the northern parts of the country, but they're as much hero to everyone else. And Sultan Kudarat, who resisted very effectively yung mga Spaniards, conquistadors, is as much a hero of our Mindanao brothers and sisters as much as he's a hero for me, right? And we can go on and on and on. So, yun dapat ang direction natin. Consistently and consistently. Kaya ako, sinasabi ko, malalaman mo talaga sino mga hipokrito eh. Malalaman mo talaga sino yung mga oportunista eh. Kasi ako, sabi ko, even if I'm from Ilocos, Ilocano, even if I'm from the north of the country, I never forgot about the facts of the Marcos dictatorship and all. Which makes it very interesting because last time I checked, yung mga ibang kaibigan natin ay biglang unit team and then biglang kalaban ng Marcoses, biglang people power mode and everything. And the next thing you know, biglang parang unit team na iba na yung spelling. So, doon mo makita talaga na hindi, na talagang hypocrites yung mga tao na ibang tao na pinag-usapan. Trapo talaga. You know what's the sign of katrapuan? Unit team ka, tapos biglang kalaban kayo, pa-people power ka, anti-Marcos ka, next thing you know, biglang, doon na ako sa kabilang Marcos. Yan ang problema natin, guys. Yan ang problema natin. Yan ang mga katrapuan na dapat we resist, di ba? Pero grabe naman yung mga edit na ginawa dun sa isa. Sino nag-edit to? Sino nag-edit to? Saan ginawa yan? Saan ginawa yan? Yung boses. May nag-forward sa akin eh. Yan. Kala ko galit sa Marcoses. Saan ginawa yung pabebe video na inedit dito? Anyway, joking aside, di ba? Yan, hypocrisy. Hypocrisy. One day unity team, next day galit sa Marcos, next day, oh, biglang unity team dun sa kabilang Marcos. Guys, seriously. If that's not hypocrisy, then what is hypocrisy? Right? So bago kayo magmema dyan or papebe sa, mga pink, naging pro Marcos na, excuse me. First of all, you have to give credit where credit is due. Unlike Digong, hindi tuta ng China yung kasalukuyan ng presidente. Marami akong problema sa kasalukuyan ng presidente. You can look at all of the things I've written, all of the thousands of vlogs were uploaded. Kung tamad kayo magbasa, which obviously is the case for some of our friends there. But, we never forgot the dark legacy of Marcos dictatorship. We're very absolutely consistent about us. Nothing should make us forget that. The human rights catastrophe, the economic catastrophe, all the budol, all the email-defic projects, yan. So I never allowed yung ating Ilocano side to blind us to those facts. Now, what is interesting is, yung mga kaibigan natin, Uniteam, then anti-Marcos, people power, biglang ganyan-ganyan, and then biglang ngayon, doon naman sa kabila, yan naman tayo, di ba? Yan naman tayo. Yan ang katrapuhan. Yan ang katrapuhan. I mean, what is more obvious than this? Yan ang katrapuhan, di ba? So, kaya nga sinasabi ko yan ang problema natin eh. Kaya, dapat talaga hindi tayo magpapadala sa mga politiko and partisanship because it blinds you to facts and realities and makes you bend the fabric of reality to fit a certain false narrative. Yan talagang, si Harry talagang may postdoctoral specialization dyan, right? Pero tingnan na ang nangyari kay Harry ngayon. Patulips-tulips na lang, di ba? Meron mga nagpadala sa akin na meron palang version ni Tasha na mas interesting pa pala. Tignan nga natin. Actually, hindi ko pa nakita yung Tasha version eh. Si Tasha meron din version ah. Guys, big flop talaga yan yung PR niya yan ah. That was quite a big flop. I mean, obviously, unfortunately, meron tayong false sympathy minsan and minsan meron talaga in totoo na any publicity is good publicity. So yeah, hindi naman ako 100% sure na itong what seems to be like a PR disaster. Next thing you know, it might actually help Amy. So, I'm just saying, I'm I've seen enough. I've seen enough not to be surprised just in case. But I think the consensus among all PR experts and practitioners is that that was a big disaster PR flop. But anyway, going back to this, at least what's very clear is that yung mga ating mga kaibigan in the comedic world and all, talagang genius out nila ito eh. Ito. Anong version to?
Itim ngayon ang kulay ng bansa. Sa confidential fund, ako'y nagpakasasa. Gutom ka sa pera. Gutom pa kay Sulaika. Panggigipi ang paborito
Grabe.
eksena. Marami ang nakalista. Pero sino nga ba sila? Sino si Mary Grace Piatos? Shoota ka. Itim ang kanyang monay. Bulok na mangga. Itim
Grabe.
ang kulay ng mata ni
Bulok
Jen
na mangga.
ng black eye. Itim ang lakas ng iyong tama. Ang gaba.
In fairness kay Tasha, in fairness.
Senator Annie Marcos sa West Philippine Sea.
Yun lang. Okay, no comment na. Di ako wala akong sinasabi ha. May nag-forward lang sa akin. Honestly, literally, I just saw it just as you saw it. As in, literally kasabay ito. Akala ko pa naman si Tasha love niya si Sarah. But parang, medyo, in fairness si ate na isa medyo may pagkano ha. Anyways, you can see why, diba? You can see na why pinagtatawanan nito dahil, wait lang, akala ko unit team tapos anti-Marcos tapos biglang, wait, doon ka na sa kabilang Marcos. I mean, hello, diba? Hello. Alam ko even mga kaibigan natin naka-DDS na iba, medyo hindi rin convinced. Kaya at napansin ko hanggang dito lang yung akyat ng kamay, hanggang dito lang. Parang, pati si ate yata hindi convinced. At just as I asked dun sa interview natin with Prof. Cleve Arguelles, what does Amy bring to Sarah? I'm not really sure about. Maybe 2028, maybe kung my fellow Ilocanos are still willing to vote for her. Or yung iba nga nagbibiro na baka nagre-ready na lang, mag-showbiz na lang kasi mukhang medyo malabo na awanan yung career niya sa anyway, the reason why I say kapit lang and it's important to hold on, especially when things look talagang team kadiliman, team kasamaan, when things look like talagang hopeless, yung mga tao na nirerespeto mo, next thing you know, nagtrapo moves, yung mga tao na akala mo sila yung liwanag sa dilim, next thing you know, nag flip-flop na, nag-Harry moves. There are many reasons to feel frustrated. There are many reasons to feel uh, despondent, right? Sa ating politika. Actually, as we speak, I'm trying to, go through the book and finish the book review of yung si Professor Walden Bailio and the global battlefields, and he was talking about yung kanyang struggles in life, including, fighting against, the worst of capitalism, fighting against imperialism, fighting for progressive left, and all of the setbacks that the good people have suffered. And yet, there's still a lot of success. There's still a lot of reasons not to give up. And there are a lot of reasons for the next generation to build on what has been achieved, no matter how limited. At dito guys, talaga sa akin, nag-resonate sa akin itong video. Na ito rin, finorward din sa akin. Um, so bago ako makit sa Baguio, may nag-forward sa akin. Sabi niya, tingnan mo nga to. Tapos nung tinignan, ayos ah. At saka very emotionally compelling. At dito makikita mo talaga na swerte tayo because at the end of the day guys, kaysa mag-tot ka tayo. Minsan nga napapaisip ka, tot ka ba talaga yung iba? Yung iba ba tot ka talaga? Were they really tapang enough to confront the Dutertes? Did they have it in them to be um, really versatile and dexterous and politically savvy to deal with the challenge of Dutertes? Yung iba, tot ka lang ba dahil lang sa imahe nila or talagang tot ka sila dahil they would have really been transformative leaders? I don't know. We can have a long debate about that. Pero sabi ko, before tayo tot ka, at magpa-depress and despondent mode, let's not forget that actually as we speak, we have among us many people who should give us a lot of hope and many people who actually should make us believe that if you fight for truth, yes, the arc of history will bend towards justice. The truth will not prevail on its own. Absolutely not. You have to fight for truth. 'Di ba? You have to fight for truth. 'Di ba? Kaya nga si Jesu Cristo mismo nagsabi, 'di ba? I've not come here to bring peace, 'di ba? I've come here, 'di ba? Basically, 'di ba? You have to challenge an oppressive order. You have to challenge the Pharisees, right? You have to challenge, well, in his case, in a way, also the Roman Empire, 'di ba? You have to challenge an oppressive order, right? So, and if you fight for truth, right, eventually you'll be vindicated. Eventually, your message will echo throughout time and throughout eternity. And kaya sabi ko, wag natin kalimutan na bago tayo mag-thought ka, bago tayo ma-depress lang sa mga nangyayari, or bago tayo hanggang, I mean, I'm also all for comedy and all. And by the way, soon i-release natin next week, after Holy Week, obviously, yung mga Cool Pals episode natin, the new ones and some of the ones that we had earlier, and all of them relevant to the elections, ilalabas natin yan. I'm all for comedy. I mean, dark humor is very important. It's good for stress relief. It's good for establishing rapport. And dark humor is, of course, also important in terms of exposing budol and incompetence. And we have used dark humor a lot of times. But hindi pwede hanggang dyan lang. Hindi pwede hanggang dark humor lang. Hindi pwede hanggang coping mechanism lang. Hindi pwede hanggang pa-cute lang and pa-safe lang and hindi pwede hanggang blind faith lang. You have to fight the good fight. Even when you think na it's impossible. Even when you think na it's the courage of hopelessness that is driving you. Even if you think that all odds are against you. No, yeah, dapat tuloy-tuloy ka lang. Tuloy-tuloy ka lang. Because if you fight for truth, truth will eventually prevail. If not in your lifetime, it will prevail when people inspired by your story will continue that fight, will carry the cross until there is vindication, right? Or resurrection, right? Um, and that's why talagang sabi ko, wag natin kalimutan yung mga tunay na tigre. And I mean tigre in the good sense of the word. Yan, tigre ng norte. No. If you look at yung mga pinaka-matapang at pinaka-encouraging characters in our nation, they're actually neither, well, Bicolano yung isa taga Mindanao. Actually, dalawa dyan, Bicolano. Leila De Lima, of course, Senator De Lima, as we speak. Hindi nga natin na ano actually, we're hoping to have early morning or kanina with Attorney De Leon, but I think busy sila with ano nila. And then si Attorney Cristina Conti, hopefully we can have her tomorrow. If not, next week na back-to-back na lang sila with Justice Carpi. We want to have them kasi ang problema naman is yung isa nasa abroad pa, yung isa naman wala sa magandang connection na area. But don't worry guys, we're setting up proper conversation with legal experts and all. Kasi kailangan din natin balikan itong issue na to eh. Yun talaga yung mga tunay na biktima ng extrajudicial killings. And speaking of the tunay na mga biktima ng extrajudicial killings, we wouldn't have had the chance to know about the catastrophe, if not the complete boodle under the former president, who according to some critics is gonna just wala na, game over na yan. That person is gonna spend the rest of his life dyan sa detention center or yung preso dyan sa labas ng hig. But anyway, we wouldn't have had the chance to know about, not forget about the human rights catastrophe alone, we wouldn't have had the chance to hope for justice one day if not for some people fighting the good fight. If not for some people fighting the good fight. Naalala ko yung nagkwentuhan kami ni Leloy ng, was this 2018 or 19, and si Professor Claudio was sharing something about a conversation he had with his student about the case of Ma'am Leila de Lima. And yan, Tigre rin yan. Love na love natin yan. The best talaga yan. The conversation was something along the lines na hindi kaya premature yung ginawa ni Ma'am Leila de Lima na parang kinakalaban niya si Digong at the height of his popularity. Wasn't that politically unwise? I think that was kind of parang yun yung conversation ni I think Leloy sa classroom niya na he was saying sometimes maybe timing is an issue in politics. Maybe sometimes is, you find the right opening. Parang kumaga diskarte, dapat madiskarte ka sa politika. And then Leloy said, and then nag-raise ng kamay daw yung isang estudyante niya, and doon talaga na paano si Leloy talagang parang mic drop. Yep, you're right. Sabi ng isang estudyante niya. But that's exactly why what Ma'am Leila de Lima did was special. Precisely because she did it when it was not the right time. Because fighting for truth never has the right time. You always have to fight for the truth. Even when it seems as politically inconvenient. In fact, you have to fight for truth even more when it's politically inconvenient. Right? Diyan lalabas talaga yung convictions mo sa buhay. When you're willing to fight for something when it's unpopular, or you go against someone very popular and very powerful. Dun talaga, actually, yun yung value ng ginawa ni Senator Leila de Lima. And sabi ni Leila something along the lines that, after hearing that, completely agreed siya. Now, this was 2018, 2019. Around this time, also I had the chance to meet Ma'am Leila de Lima sa detention center. And Ma'am Leila de Lima was ready to spend the rest of her life behind the bars. Na baka itong rehimen ni Duterte will be there for 1,000 years. Now, so basically this is profiles in courage, right? So while Ma'am Leila de Lima was, fighting her good fight against all odds, and parang there's no light at the end of the tunnel, it was just making sure nagfi-flicker pa rin yung candle in complete darkness. People like General Torre, in the meantime, were making sure that hindi sila sangkot. Diba? Hindi sila sangkot dun sa war on drugs as much as possible. Imagine how difficult that is. Base sa pagkaalam ko, from some very trusted sources, actually si General Torre, one reason why marami na impress sa kanya, and many people are saying dapat di ka magtataka sa kanyang success nowadays, operational success, and I believe one day also political success potentially. Because I've seen some of the numbers. Actually, laki ng chance ni General Torre if he runs for national office in 2028. But anyway, before tayo pupunta sa politika, pag-usapan natin moral courage. Actually, one of the reasons why highly recommended si General Torre sa akin. Remember, I reached out to General Torre out of nowhere. Sabi ko, and this is when the whole Kibuloy drama was happening. Remember, nasa Siargao pa ako nun? Diba? And pinagtatawa natin si Harry Roque noon, yung Team Kadiliman, Kasamaan, etc. And then someone insisted, no, kausapin mo to. Sobrang talino tong tao to, maayos mag-isip tong taon to, and he will be okay. Eh sabi ko, di ba PNP, ano yan? Di ba medyo mataas din. So, sabi na, actually, itong tao na to ay nagtuturo sa academy at the height of yung mga talagang mga kababalagan na nangyari sa panahon ni Digong. So, when General Torre, sa interviews natin, or even, basically, General Torre, whenever he says na, I believe in following the letter of the law, I believe in due process. Well, guess what? Itong tao na to, when things were very dark for PNP, when Digong was basically bullying everyone to follow his horrible instructions, di ba, among others, people like General Torre decided just to basically be professor. He was basically the professor for the police. At doon nakita nung iba, napakatalino tong taong to ah. And I don't know if you remember yung is one of the earlier interviews that I had with General Torre, di ba? He was explaining na para may engineering background yata siya, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that, right? Para may pagka systems engineering mindset siya, kaya matalino siya mag-isip ng logistics and operational details eh. Um, so actually, people like General Torre were also kinda in wilderness because nung time ni Digong, kung ikaw ay involved dun sa tokang operation niya, ang taas ng chance mo na ma-promote ng ma-promote. Kasi yun yung basically, yun yung royal road to success. At marami sa mga opisyales na sobrang umakyat yung kanilang rankings at yung iba nga, katulad ni, in fact, for instance, many raised very serious question about, what's his name? Bato, right? Bato did not have the sufficient rank to be the PNP chief. So biglang nag-accelerate siya. And some would say circumvention nangyari. But he was not alone. There were many other people who managed to climb to the ranks, and hindi lang sa PNP, because they blindly followed, or even more than that, they enthusiastically improvised on the worst instructions by Duterte, or worst incitement to violence by Duterte. Right? So for people like General Torre to try to keep away from that as much as possible, considering he was within PNP, that's quite something. Yung mga kaibigan natin, and this is why I have a lot of respect for AFP. The AFP just said, no, sir, we're not gonna be involved in that nonsense. Because alam natin, puro kababalagan yan, di ba? They didn't say that openly, but basically yun yung mensahe ng AFP, Armed Forces of the Philippines. You research it, how many times Digong called on the Armed Forces of the Philippines to be involved dun sa drug war, and they said no. So kaya mataas ang respeto ko sa mga tao na as much as possible, they tried not to get involved dito sa mga kalokohan ni Digong. We also have another hero, isa pang Tigre yan, si Admiral Ong, right? Who was also in a very senior position during Digong's time, but yet he still tried his best to make sure na protektahan niya yung West Philippine Sea. Justice Carpio, another Tigre, right? Ito naman from Davao, from Mindanao. Actually, Justice Carpio from Mindanao, General Torre from Mindanao. I mean, ang dami nilang mga galing. If you look at Justice Carpio, he was the justice. He sacrificed, although for him it was not a big deal because he knows his place in history. But Justice Carpio did not become the Supreme Court justice because he stood up to Duterte on the West Philippine Sea issue. Unlike yung mga iba, alam na natin, excited makuha lang to si Sereno, okay na. Do you get what I'm saying? So, whether it's Justice Carpio, General Torre, Admiral Ong, ang dami nilang mga bayani, mga tunay na tigre na, when push came to shove, they held their ground. Or at the very least, they made sure they don't get involved in the evil that was happening during that time. Basically evil, yeah. And in the case of Ma'am Leila de Lima, she basically chose practically the worst political timing to fight for the greatest moral cause, which is life of our citizens, our people. Kaya sabi ko, wag kayo magtotka. We are so lucky. Justice Carpio is here with us. Admiral Long is there. General Torre has a bright political future. Leila de Lima is already running. Mamayan Liberal. And of course, the man of the hour. Let's talk about him. The man of the hour. Sabi nga ni Krista, na-cringe daw siya dati. And I know a lot of us in the past were critical of him. I wrote a critical piece about him in 2011 or so for Asia Times nung nag-backdoor siya for West Philippine Sea. A lot of us used to be critics. I'm sure a lot of you who are watching us at some point hindi kayo believe. Or if anything, baka hate nyo pa tong tao na to. Sabi nga ni Kristan nga, nag-cringe daw siya before. Sino tong tao na to? Kudeta ng kudeta, napakayabang, napakaganon. I'm sure marami rin nag-cringe sa atin, nanayabangan sa atin, di ba? But, if you get over prejudice, if you try to look at the arc of redemption or arc of character building of a person, my goodness, there are few people as impressive as former Senator Trillanes when it comes to our politics. I mean, look at this guy. I mean, the level of risk he took. I mean, forget about his political career. I mean, he put everything on the line. After seeing everything that was done to Senator De Lima, yun pa yun eh. Napakatapang ni Senator De Lima. And she made her heroic sacrifices for that. Senator Trillanes saw that and yet tuloy-tuloy pa rin. In fact, if anything, baka na-inspire pa nga siya lalo na dapat tuloy itong laban na ito. So while Justice Carpio was fighting the good fight in the Supreme Court, while Senator De Lima was continuing her Mandela journey, basically, in detention facilities, dyan sa Kame, Senator Trillanes not only stood up to Duterte against all odds, he became instrumental to holding Duterte to account. Now, he's not the only one because there were other people who also made the communication. There are other people that we have to credit. Among others, yung group nila, Attorney Christina Conti, who we hope to catch up with again soon. But one of the, but arguably the most prominent statesman who pushed for ICC investigation and eventually prosecution was Senator Trillanes. And if we were to believe, at least there was one column in Manila Times that openly said, may time daw na si Digong na sa sobrang pikon niya kay Trillanes. Basically, he said, ano yun na yan? I mean, imagine, right and left, na narco list yung mga politiko. Imagine seeing what was done to Senator De Lima. Imagine yung popularity ni Digong and all the troll farms and all of the attack. And then next thing you know, si Trump friendly pa kay Digong. Oh my God. Against all these odds. Trump yung president, friendly kay Digong, impressed pa daw siya kay Digong. Si Digong napaka popular, ganun. But Senator Trillanes, not only did he not back out, he doubled down. At yun yung impressive sa akin. Kaya sabi ko, kahit mga katulad namin ng mga critics niya dati, kudeta ng kudeta. Parang, okay, mukhang iba to. Ibang level to. So I always talk about Alexei Navalny, Zelensky, all of these brave people I highly respect. But I'll tell you guys, we also have our own versions of them. And one of them is absolutely Senator Trillanes. Kaya kahapon, bago ako umakyat dito sa bag, I was actually very tired. I was very exhausted. And then suddenly nakita ko tong video na to. Parang biglang adrenaline rush. Like, parang parang nagganon na, it really talagang magsisink in yung level of risk and sacrifice that Senator Trillanes made to make sure na darating yung araw na dumating yung last month. Actually guys, papunta na tayo sa second monthsary ni ni Tatay in alam na natin, no? But as I said, he's not the only person, but gosh, the level of courage he showed, guys. I mean, that's what I'm telling you guys. Wala akong pake kung anong cringe natin sa kanya dati. Alam ko marami nayabangan sa kanya, maybe even more sa mga nayabangan even sa akin, di ba? I mean, I get it guys, but once you put aside those blah 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 superficial stuff, just let it sink in the level of sacrifice and courage it took to do what he did. My goodness. So, ito yung video na lumabas na talaga ako parang bumalik lahat yung anger ko, yung frustration ko nung panahon ni Digong, yung sense of helplessness, yung sense of hopelessness, at the same time yung defiance na we will not allow this to be the end of Philippine democratic history. Iba talaga. Ayan, yung mga trilling, yung mga trolls. Sige lang. See, like, ang tapang talaga niya. Kaya yung mga nagsabi sa akin, Richard, na ano, actually, I'm inspired by people like Trillanes, by Alexei Navalny, by Zelensky, among others, di ba? No amount of trolling is gonna silence us. No amount of persona trapos trying to silence us will intimidate us. Because we're inspired by these brave Filipinos, true patriots. Oh, yung mga followers natin ng Bicolano, you should be proud of not only producing the Robredos, not only producing, oh my goodness, another Tigre ng Pilipinas, Leila de Lima, also producing someone like Senator Trillanes. I mean, it's impressive what he brings to the table. Right?
Pero gusto kong sabihin,
Bakit tayo magpapaututo sa kanya? Bumas ka dyan. Anong forma ang interest na sabi mo?
alam ko na sa tingin ng iba, ako ang sumira sa isang tao na minahal.
Sampalin ko siya sa publiko. Ngayon na.
Isang pinuno na binigyan ninyo ng tiwala.
I am now your enemy and you have to be out.
Kaya hindi ako narito para makipagtalo. Hindi ako narito para ipilit ang sarili ko sa inyo. Narito ako dahil sa bayan. Ilang beses kong tinaya ang buhay ko para mapatunayan ko ang pagmamahal ko sa ating bansa.
July 27, 2003, unang nakilala si Lieutenant Senior Grade Antonio Trillanes IV. Isa siya sa mga leader ng mahigit 300 sundalo ng grupong Magdalo na sumugod sa Makati. Pangyayaring tumatak sa kasaysayan at tinawag na Open Mutiny.
Ang hiling ko sa inyo ngayong oras na ito ay buksan nyo lang ang isipan ninyo. Hindi ko kayo pipiliting maniwala, pero gusto kong sabihin ito sa inyo. Baka sakaling magbukas ang isip mo. Dahil ang pagmamahal sa bayan, hindi mo pwedeng daanin sa kwentuhan, sa pagpapatawa, sa pagmumura. Madadaan
istorya.
ito sa katotohanan. Ito ang buong kwento ko. Noong 2016, nagsimula kaagad ang patayan.
Beyond would shoot them dead.
Kami noon sa Senado, sa oposisyon, iniisip namin ano ito nangyayari. Hinihinto ba ito? Kaso araw-araw, daan-daan ang namamatay. Naalarma kami dahil bilang miyembro ng Senado, ang katungkulan namin ay pumuna ng mga kamailian na nakikita natin sa ating lipunan. Naghain kami ng resolusyon, hindi po ito panggugulo. Ito po ay isang checks and balance ng ating sistema na para siguraduhin na walang maglalabis ng poder sa iba't ibang sangay ng gobyerno. Si Sergeant Arturo Las Cañas ay isa sa mga leader ng Double Death Squad. Nagmamatigas noon at dinidinay niya lahat ng mga paratang sa kanya.
Namatay din ito sa Davao City.
Your Honor, I think I'm not in a position to answer, Your Honor.
During the investigation, lumabas po si Mr. Edgar Matubato. Siya ay isang original member ng Double Death Squad simula pa noong 1989 o 1990 at kung saan dinitalye niya kung paano nagsimula yung Double Death Squad, sino-sino yung mga pinuno nito, paano sila na-organisa, paano sila pumapatay hanggang nung umalis siya nung mga 2011 o 2012 dahil napagbintangan siya na siya ay umatay sa isang personalidad. Dahil sa bintang na ito, si Edgar Matubato ay tumakas papuntang Maynila at nag-walk-in siya sa Department of Justice noong 2014.
Bakit po nandito kayo? Para malaman ng taong bayan ang ginawa namin sa Davao City. Para mabigyan ng katarungan yung lahat, yung namatay ng mga inosente.
Siya ay kinwestiyon ng NBI agents, tinitingnan kung totoo ang kanyang storya at dito na nga mas lumalim yung investigasyon. Yung lahat ng mga pinangalanan ni Mr. Matubato na mga miyembro ng Double Death Squad, na mga miyembro rin ng Philippine National Police. Ito ay pinatawag namin sa Senado. Itong si Sergeant Arturo Las Cañas, kinalaunan, siya ay umamin na totoo nga lahat ng mga sinabi ni Edgar Matubato at mas marami pa siyang sinabi tungkol sa Davao Death Squad.
I would like to ask for an apology and understanding of what I have said because I'd like all that is testimonies of Edgar Matubato against myself.
Sila talaga ang nag-organisa ng Davao Death Squad under Mayor Rodrigo Duterte. At ang mga sinalaysay nila Edgar Matubato at Arturo Las Cañas ang mga naging basihan ng unang communication na naisampa sa International Criminal Court. Ito ay nung panahon na naging miyembro tayo ng ICC noong November of 2011 hanggang March of 2019. Si Arturo Las Cañas, masasabi ko na meron siyang photographic memory. Kaya nung siya ay in-interview na ng ICC investigators, isang linggo siyang na cross-examine. Sinubukan talaga, balibalik ta rin yung kanyang testimonya, pero pare-parehas ang lumabas na mga detalye. Ilang mga specific cases ng murder ang isinama niya sa kanyang 186-page affidavit kung sino yung mga miyembro ng hit squad, sino yung nag-drive ng getaway vehicle, gamit na pagpatay, saan pinatay, dinala at nilibing. Ganun kadetalye ang kanyang affidavit. Kaya dahil dyan, siya ay naging star witness.
Sa report ng The New York Times noong 2017, nasa kustodiya na raw ng ICC o International Criminal Court si Las Cañas na nagbibigay proteksyon sa mga testigo.
Lalo na doon sa panahon na mayor si Duterte. Ngayon ko lang po sasabihin, meron pa pong isang hitman na nauna nang nagpunta sa ICC ng Witness Protection Program nila. Parehas ang sinabi nila. Kaya solid ang ebidensya po doon ng kaso ni Duterte. Nung presidente na si Duterte, ang sinasabi ni Las Cañas, ando doon siya nung binuo yung transition from the Davao Death Squad to the National Death Squad. Yung template sa Davao, kung paano nila ginawa, ganun din ang gagawin. Meron silang reward system para maenganyong matay itong mga members ng Davao Death Squad. Bawat ulo may presyo. Small targets, 5,000, 10,000. Pagka malalaking mga targets, meron 50,000, may 100,000 hanggang 300,000 dun sa isang pinapatay nila. Binibigyan sila ng picture, binibigyan sila ng address, binibigyan sila ng target, tapos pinupunta nila at pinapatay nila. Ina-assume nila Matubato at Las Cañas na kung ang sinabi sa kanila ay ito ay pusher or drug addict. Sa totoo lang, hindi nila alam kung ano yung sinusubo sa kanila. Nung binuo sila, ito ay paniniwala nila na sila ay nakakatulong sa lipunan, na nililinis nila yung mga dumi ng lipunan. Pero kinalaunan, namomotivate na sila doon sa reward. Kaya dahil sa tiwala nila kay Duterte, akala nila lahat ng iyon ay totoo. Until napapaisip sila kung totoo ba talagang mga salot sa lipunan yung pinapatay. Kasi meron silang pinatay na isang pamilya. Meron mag-asawa, may buntis na babae, tapos may anak na bata. Kaya doon sila nagtatanong, ano ba itong nangyayari talaga? Lumabas ang sagot noong 2003, nung nakilala ni Mr. Las Cañas, si Michael Yang, Sammy.
Okay, so I suggest guys, because in the copyright natin yan, so I suggest check the original place where na-post yan. So this is just a snippet. Actually, mahaba siya. Well, as far as Senator Trillanes is concerned, he is he's saying na hindi lang walang kakwenta-kwenta yung drug war na yan, hindi lang inhumane, hindi lang siya human rights catastrophe. Basically, ang position niya, it's a boodle in the worst case, it's a worst sense of the word. So I suggest you guys to watch the full video itself. I'll post again the link here to the original site. So basically, snippet lang ito. I just felt at least a few minutes of that. We have to check that out because sa aking palagay talaga, guys, nakulang talaga yung mainstream media natin in covering this issue. You know, the best coverage of this issue I've seen is either from international media or from yung mga civil society groups or yung mga matapang na tao katulad ni Senator Trillanes. So, which tells you talaga malalim ang problema natin. Na I think hindi natin binigyan ng sapat na boses yung mga tunay na biktima dito. So, yung mga ibang followers natin dito na hanggang ano na lang sila na popular. Alam mo guys, the number one sign, actually dalawa yun dalawang senyales na talagang medyo mababa yung political maturity ng isang tao ay ang tingin nila is ang politika ay actually popularity context, at pangalawa, hanggang tribalism na lang yung mindset. You know, let me just say, as an Ilocano, I'm not proud of what the Marcoses have brought to this country, and I'll never forget the facts about the Marcos dictatorship and all. But I'm proud of what Gabriela Silang, Padre Burgos, General Luna, Isabelo de los Reyes. The list is very long of all of these luminary Ilocanos who have made great contribution to nation building in the Philippines, and I'm extremely proud of them, and I'm extremely inspired by their contribution. But let me also say to my to our fellow Filipinos from Bicol, my goodness, the people you have, the wonderful people you have produced, from the Rebredos to Senator De Lima, and look at Senator Trillanes, my goodness, the vindication he got, right? I mean, thanks to people like him, may laban pa. Of course, hindi pa tapos ang laban because marami pa rin sa ating mga kaibigan hindi pa rin namulat sa katotohanan. Marami pa rin sa ating mga kaibigan. I've seen the numbers. I've seen some numbers, not only electoral numbers, but I've seen also some consumer sentiment numbers. Medyo nakakabahala na thanks to partisanship, tribalism, cult-like politics, and all, may mga ilan, hindi lang ilan, marami dyan na unfortunately hindi pa rin namumulat sa katotohanan at denial mode pa rin sila, or worse, gina-justify pa nila yung mass atrocities na nangyari. But tama yung sinabi ni Senator Trillanes, this is not about popularity. This is not about impressing people. This is not about just doing what is popular at the moment. This is about doing what is right. And it's about doing what's right when everything is going wrong. It's about kindling yung candle when everything is going super dark, right? At kaya talaga sabi ko, swerte tayo. At the end of the day, despite all of the katrapuhan sa ating politika, all of these persona trapos, all of these offspring of vipers, we still have people are fighting the good fight and are willing to give it a good fight. Hindi, guys, kaya sabi ko, hindi na mag-work, guys. Hindi mag-work. Imagine if Senator Trillanes was just like other senators or other, alam mo na, yung mga usual Dilawan style na, ano na lang, the guy has his time, we'll find our right time, eventually, truth will prevail. Alam mo, kung ganun ang ginawa nila, wala na eh. Wala na yung ICC case, wala na yan. Baka hanggang ngayon, sila Digong pa rin nasa poder. Right? But because they chose to fight the good fight, even when it was the worst political timing, nagkaroon tayo ng pag-asa. And nagkaroon tayo ng chance for vindication. But then again, hindi pa tapos ang laban. Tuloy-tuloy lang atong laban na to. This is just a first step in a journey of 1,000 miles, to use the Chinese expression. And Senator Trillanes is running for mayor right now. Para sa akin, regardless of what happens, of course, I think more than enough people believe that at the very least he should, that the people of Caloocan should have the chance to have a proper good mayor. But no matter what happens there, I think he has already carved his place in history as one of the great senators who fought the really difficult fight against all odds, against a very dangerous, popular demagogue, right? Na ngayon, wala na. Game over na. Pero bata pa si Senator Trillanes, there is still 2028. There is, a lot of things could happen. Kaya sabi ko, not only he has carved out his place in history, if people, sana mamulat more and more of our people, you never know that itong mga tunay na tigre sa ating bayan will be given the chance to take this country in the right direction. Ang nakakalungkot po is, we Filipinos are loved around the world for our work ethic, for our values, for our dedication, for our kindness and love, the love we pour into our works and professions. Kaya napaka-successful ang mga kababayan natin all around the world. Pero dahil dito sa mga persona trapos, right? These persona trapos have held us back. Or sometimes ang panglaban lang natin sa persona trapos ay mga mediocre. Mga pa-cute lang. Mga hanggang ano na lang, mga ek-ek lang. So the good thing is our future is not just going to be a choice between mediocrity and pa-cute and supine reformism on one hand and demagogic katrapuhan politics. There is another way. And I think from what Justice Carpi did in the judiciary, to what General Torre is doing now in the PNP, to what countless great generals, including General Bronner, I think is also another fellow Baguio boy, has been doing in the military, to what former Senator Trillanes and Mayor Elcani of Caloocan is doing right now, and to what former Senator De Lima has been doing for years. I mean, ang dami natin, mga kababayan guys, who are fighting the good fight, right? So, kapit lang, don't give up, but more importantly, not only not give up, do something. Support. Support this kind of leadership. Even if personally you're not in a position to vote for person X, Y, and Z, even if person you don't like person X, Y, and Z, at least supportahan natin yung mga tao na nagpapakita nang hindi yung mga pakyut lang or nagpapakita ng magaling mag-istorya or magaling magdakdak ng yabang-yabang, upakan daw yung ICC tapos biglang nandun na nga nasa ICC na, hindi niya masabi yung ano niya. Hindi ganoon. Suportahan natin yung style of governance na hindi budol, hindi istorya hindi demagogic, hindi lang puro popularity context. Let's support the style of leadership that is based on merit and more importantly, courage, guys. Ako, courage is more important than everything to me. Kasi marami naman matalino dyan eh. Marami naman may mga gandang mga credentials dyan eh. Pero yung matapang, willing to risk their life in the toughest of times, yun, kulang tayo ng ganyan leaders. But as I said, kulang tayo so far, but if we support the right people, if we make a movement around the right people, then may pag-asa ang Pilipinas. And in a way, baka ma-restore pa yung faith natin sa demokrasya, sa ating minamahal na bansa. Anyway, also restore our faith in humanity because there's so much darkness out there. And there's also so much darkness in the hearts of many people. Marami pa rin hindi namulat. So may this Holy Week serve as a moment for contemplation, for being open to truth, but also may this Holy Week be an opportunity for us to find the courage, find the conviction to support the right people who have been fighting the good fight against all odds all this time. So kaysa magtotka tayo, look forward and look around because there are actually many brave people around us. On that note, maraming salamat sa inyong lahat, ating mga minamahal na kababayan. Daghang salamat again sa mga followers natin from Mindanao who have been sending messages of support and love throughout the past month and so. Yung mga iba na they exactly know where I've been coming from. Those who have not been falling for persona trapos. Again, daghang salamat sa inyong lahat. Also, maraming salamat sa mga kapsad natin dito, of course, dito naman sa region natin na even if they may not have agreed with some of the things I've said about the Marcos legacy, alam naman nila where I'm coming from in my criticism of the Marcos dictatorship and Marcos legacy. And as I said, please don't forget na kami naman mga Ilocano, hindi lang naman mga Marcos ang na-contribute namin sa bayan. We have contributed Padre Borgos, Gabriela Silang, Checo Silang, Luna Brothers, General Luna, Isabelo de los Reyes. The list is very long. So we're also very proud of many great Ilocanos who have also been very great patriots. As I said, maraming salamat din sa ating mga kabayan from all around the country. And today, talaga I think ang dami natin shoutout sa mga Bicolano natin na kaibigan. Imagine, Senator De Lima, Senator Trillanes, De Robredos, ang dami mga magaling na produkto ng Bicol. And I'll tell you what, every single region and province in this country has made tremendous amount of contribution to this country. And we will continue to make great contribution to our country if we don't forget that as much as we love our hometowns and home provinces, the ultimate love should be for the country. The ultimate love should be for the country. We are in this together. And wag natin hayaan yung mga walang hiyang persona trapos to weaponize tribalism, to exploit legitimate grievances for their own political cause. Let's not allow that. Let's not fall for that. The same way na kami, proud kami, even if Ilocano kami, hindi kami loyalista, proudly so. We're proudly not loyalista and proudly very critical of Marcoses and the Marcos dictatorship especially. I hope the same thing also goes dun sa mga ibang kababayan natin. Sana lahat tayo mamulat sa katotohanan. Now, we should be here for the interest of the Filipino people, and we should be here especially for the most vulnerable Filipinos, the most marginalized Filipinos. and precisely the very people who were targeted by the worst policies of the former administration. On that note, thank you very much. God bless. Yes, mga Caviteño, of course, you have Aguinaldo. I mean, the whole Cavite folks who have contributed to our revolution. As I said, kaya nga, yun nga eh, wala sa atin may monopoly in terms of contribution to nation building. At kaya nga, ayoko yung discussion about yung mag-separate na kami, mag-federal na kami, hindi yan patriotic. That's anti-patriotic. Dapat yung mga ganyan mga politiko itapon na yung mga yan sa West Philippines. Or ibalik na sa China. No, but anyway, thank you so much guys sa inyong pagmamahal. Again, may this Holy Week serve as a moment na sana mamulat yung mga ibang kababayan natin. At the same time, for the good people who have fought the good fight, may the Holy Week serve as an inspiration for them to morally rejuvenate, the nation, to recover. Very taxing, guys. It's let me tell you guys, mahirap maging mabuting politiko because mabuting politiko basically means public service. And sobrang konting totoong public servant, especially at the highest level, Senate, President, whatever. Let me also tell you guys, mahirap din maging political analyst, vlogger, scientist, professor, especially sa ating bansa. It's just so hard, let me tell you guys. It's just so hard. I love what I'm doing. I'm passionate about this. I believe in what I'm doing. I believe that what we're doing is the right thing. I believe that despite all the gaslighting and attacks and all this pathetic, non-binding, charot, whatever, etc., we know that we have been doing the right thing. But let me just remind you guys, ang hirap. Ang hirap yung, kasi unlike public servants, we don't even have elected positions, right? We don't even have security. We don't even have, we don't have any of those authority, whatever power that comes with, occupying a position in government. We don't even have those things. And then imagine, hindi nga kami politiko, grabe yung attack sa amin, death threats, insults, whatever, And then nakakalungkot pa yung mga people who should know better, yung mga colleagues natin sa academe, colleagues natin na iba sa media who should know better, sinasakyan pa nila yung hate train dahil lang inggit sa'yo, dahil lang, alam mo na, di ba? Dahil lang butthurt because napaya sila in the past for being epal or for being mediocre, whatever. Mahirap talaga. And let me also remind you guys, it's a very thankless job in a sense that parang no matter what you do and no matter how right you are, no matter how factual you are, there's always going to be some people who'll get mad at you. And the more followers you have, the more visibility you have, you're talking about thousands, hundreds of thousands of people getting mad at you. And sometimes, because you have to fight for truth and you have to be as objective as possible and you have to fight for the interests of the Philippines, not interests of this party or this color or that color, you may end up actually pissing off people from all different persuasions, which is basically our story. This is the story of Deep Dive. Ang daming nagalit sa atin because I've criticized opposition. I've criticized both genuine and non-genuine opposition. We criticized DDS. We've criticized loyalista. Kaya ang daming but again, inspired tayo by whether it's Navalny, Zelensky, and our very own heroes, right? Padre Burgos, Rizal, and our modern versions of Rizal and Padre Burgos. And yeah, speaking of Padre Burgos, wag natin kalimutan, yung mga katulad nila Las Cañas and Matabato made it to the ICC because tinulungan sila ng mga modern day gomburso natin. Yung mga progressive na mga pare natin who took all the risk in the world to fight for the rights of yung mga biktima ng extrajudicial killings and also to get yung key witnesses for this ICC case. Kaya yari talaga si tatay dyan sa ICC. Hopeless case yan. Peperahan lang sila ng mga ibang abogado dyan. I think gets naman nila yan eh. Kaya nga sabi nung isa, hingi na lang kami ng financial assistance. Kasama nila, wala rin mapupuntahan yung mga mahal na abogado na yan eh. But anyways, thank you so much guys for all your support. Maraming salamat sa lahat ng mga nag-join sa ating maliit na community. Nakita ko actually lalabas yung iba nag-rejoin sa community natin. Bakit umalis ba kayo tapos bumalik ulit or nag-upgrade ba kayo ng yung membership on our YouTube community? So thank you so much again sa lahat ng mga sumali sa ating YouTube members community. Malit pa tayo, but hopefully as time goes by, lalaki tayo at lalaki. And as I said, as time goes by, hopefully we'll have merch and all of that. And I have to set up a non-profit for that eh. So ayusin pa natin yung mga legal technicalities then. And hopefully at least in the near future, we can give away some of the sample of yung mga Boodle Slayer, Deep Dive, and of course, more importantly, ating mga kameta dito. Maraming salamat. God bless and talk to you soon.